the Upper Deck Report here at the Brunswick Zone in Lakeville. What a day, what a weekend's coming up. Beautiful day here in the Twin Cities, but what a beautiful weekend is planned for us older folks, us guys who played on the '91 World Series team. We'll all be in town here in the Twin Cities this weekend with obviously a lot of events planned, but to acknowledge what I consider the best Minnesota Twins team in its storied history, coming from Washington to Minnesota. The 1991 team has probably been one of the best teams put on the field by the Minnesota Twins, and what a World Series. Just to name a few of the players on that team, 1991 was the year that Jack Morris came to the Twins as a free agent. He finally was able to come home and play. Ken Herbeck was already here. Kirby Puckett was the new superstar on the block in 1994, hitting the scenes and making it happen first day in the big leagues, got 4 base hits. Dan Gladden was also on the team, as well as many others. But the core of that group, including Chuck Knobloch and Dan Gladden, put on one heck of a show in 1991. We were able to win that World Series. What a World Series it was, worst to first, Atlanta Braves against the Minnesota Twins. 1991, the first 2 games were in the Metrodome. What a crowd. It was loud, it was rambunctious, it was busy. The city was electrified. We're on the way to winning our second World Series in 5 years. Tom Kelly, the new young manager in 1987, was now a wily old veteran in his 5th year at the helm of the Minnesota Twins. He was able to get Jack Morris to come in to be the #1 starter. Had some young players, Kevin Tapani, Scott Erickson, who we called Superman, was on the staff. Probably the #2, Tapani was #3. Chili Davis came in to be the designated hitter. Mike Pagliarillo, Scott Leyes at third base, and who I think is one of the top 5 shortstops in the game at that time, Greg Gagne, patrolled shortstop. Chuck Knobloch was at second, and I was a utility player. Dan Gladden in left, Puckett in center, Shane Mack in right. I think that was probably the best team that's ever played here in Minnesota. I didn't get off to such a great start, but the ending was tremendous. Very, very good. And I'll never forget that World Series, as a lot of people haven't, because it was voted the #2 World Series of all time behind the 1975 World Series, the one that had Boston against the Cincinnati Reds with the infamous home run call by Carlton Fisk when he was waving his arms to keep the ball fair. And they've named that pole now. It's the Fisk pole, whereas the right field pole is the pesky pole because that's where he hit his home run, a 300-foot home run. Some would say that it only measures 290 feet down the right field line in Boston. But the second behind that World Series in 1975, the 1991 World Series was rated #2 because Jack Morris and, as we called ourselves, a band of fools back in the day, were able to get it done in 7 games. If I'm not mistaken, 4 of those games were decided by 1 run, but Game 7, let's take a step back. Game 6, the infamous call of all time, Kirby Puckett going deep off Charlie Leibrandt, and the broadcaster says, "We'll see you tomorrow night." What a night that was, knowing that you were going to go to bed the next day and it was all going to be on the line. Game 7 of the '91 World Series, Jack Morris against Mr. Smoltz of Atlanta. Jack Morris takes the field with the music playing in the background, "Let's Get It On" by Marvin Gaye. And I tell you what, the crowd went crazy. And I know as a player, I went crazy because right then Jack had a face that I hadn't seen all year. He was going out there to perform. And a lot of people think about their World Series as I'm goosebumping up thinking about it and talking about it, that when Tom Kelly walked out there to the mound in the 8th or 9th inning, he was going to have to fight Jack to get that ball. So Tom Kelly asked him how he was doing and turned around and walked back to the dugout, and Jack proceeded to get the job done. Awesome performance. But let's just name a couple of things. They got a bobblehead coming out on Saturday, the Ken Herbeck, Ron Gant bobblehead. And if you don't recall, I believe it was Game 2 when Ken Herbeck, as some people like to say, pulled Ron Gant off the base at first base. It was a line drive to second base, to center field. Kirby Puckett threw the ball to first base, and Ron Gant, who was trying to scurry back to the first base, in my mind, being a Twin player, he lost his balance. But in the Atlanta Braves' mind, Ken Herbeck lifted his leg off the base, and the umpire proceeded to call him out. I don't know which side you were on, but being a Twins player and a Twins fan, he lost his balance and lost his momentum. We go on to win the first 2 games at the Metrodome, and for us, we have to head down into Atlanta where they started the chant, the Florida State chant in Atlanta. We had extra security down there in Atlanta because of that incident I just described to you between Ron Gant and Ken Herbeck. Secret Service dressed in uniforms in the locker room as well as in the dugout. We didn't win a game down there, and I don't know if it was because of that. All I know is that there were 2 plays at the plate. One of them, I'd never seen it before in my career, where a collision at home plate with the catcher who holds on to the ball is called, the runner's called safe because the umpire said he did not tag the runner. I haven't seen that since, and I don't think I will, because if you make contact with the catcher, you got to think that the runner actually touched the glove somehow, some way, inadvertently or however, but he was called safe down there in Atlanta, and they went on and swept us down there. We came home down 3-2, but we were very confident, and I say that with all-out trust and confidence that there wasn't a guy on our team that feared what was going on the next 2 days after Metrodome. Games 6 and 7 in our house. And one battle cry that Tom Kelly always said, protect your house. Our fans come to see us play, obviously, and that's where we performed the best. If you check the stats from 87 to 91, the Twins were always up there for the best home record. Maybe not so good on the road, but we always played very well at home. Again, Tom Kelly, we played dome ball. Some people call it the Homer Dome, the Thunderdome. And I honestly believe when those Homer Hankies came out in 87 and came back again in 1991, that propelled us with the excitement, the momentum that was necessary for us to win another World Series. And now we celebrate it 20 years later at the new Target Field. I know it won't be the same, but all the same, it will be 23 of the 25 guys will be back. The only 2 so far that haven't said they'd be back, Shane Mack and Chuck Knobloch. This is Al Newman reporting here live with the Upper Deck Report here in Lakeville at the Brunswick Zone. We'll see you on the other side, and when we do come back, we'll talk about this year's team and the series against the Chicago White Sox coming up.